Thank you, everybody, for joining the Village Dermatology platform. I am your gracious host, Jonathan Montoya. I am joined today by a couple of wonderful people. First is my good friend, Dr. Jenny Sabera, who is the owner and founder of Village Dermatology. Jenny, say hey to everybody.
Hello, good to see you guys. Thanks, Jonathan.
Right, my pleasure. So during this time, obviously, we specialize in a lot of different things at Village Dermatology, excuse me, Botoxing, cool sculpting, and doing your annual skin checks and all that great stuff. But right now, we can't do that for a lot of you. And so what we thought we would do is bring you some information that is valuable during this point in time, because we are all kind of stuck at the house. So we have an expert that we think you need to listen to, because this is going to be good. So who do we have today? We have Amanda LeBlanc. Did I pronounce that correctly?
Yes,
Okay.
sort of. Close enough.
How do I say it? How do I
The
say
C
it?
is silent. It's LeBlanc.
LeBlanc. Oh, okay. There you go. I like that even better. Okay. So let me do a quick introduction, because Amanda is a professional organizer, and because we're all at the house right now, we all need some help organizing. She has over 12 years of experience of experience in organizing. She is a member of the NAPO, that's the National Association of Professional Organizers. She's been on a host of different shows like the Today Show, Better Homes and Garden, HGTV, iVillage, and a host of others, both nationally and locally. She has also had a television show, which I didn't even know about, on the Style Network, which was a reality show about organization. Is that correct?
It is.
All right. So welcome to our platform. And we're going to take it away with what I think is just some very basic information for someone in my position. Was where would you suggest we start with something like this? If I have no expertise in organization, my idea of organization is to take things to the dump and just get rid of it. And so I was wondering if that's a good recommendation from someone like you.
Such a man.
Yes, exactly.
No. The first thing is to start with the woman in your house. I'm just kidding.
Well, I agree with that too.
It seems like such a simple question, but honestly, it is the question you have to ask yourself when you're starting organizing is where do I begin? And I really work with all of my clients when we're doing virtual consultations or in-home consultations to really spend time talking to them, walking through their home, looking at all the different spaces and kind of understanding what is going on in each room. And honestly, if you'll do that, whether it's with someone or alone, you'll start to see the areas that you complain about a little bit more, the ones that affect your family more than others, the ones you think are going to make more of an impact. And really, that's where you should start. So if that's the kitchen and keeping room, or if it's the master bedroom, whatever it is that's going to be the most impactful on your mental status, on your family's interaction, whatever that is. And for some families, I'll actually encourage, especially if the whole family is on board for getting organized, we'll actually encourage the person, like if the mom contacts me and says, my family's not on board, but this is driving me crazy, we'll start with a place like the pantry or the laundry room, which does impact the family, but it's a smaller project and it won't be so intrusive on them. So they'll get to see the benefits of it, and then they likely will on board for more areas being done. Yeah, it's interesting because we've just moved, and the timing of moving was great because we got settled in right before all this happened. And so I have more time at home. So it's certainly applicable to me. And I like that because it is so, if we just say, hey kids, let's just get organized, they're just like, I'm going to go for a walk, or I'm going to go do something, jump on the trampoline. Like they just, nobody wants to do that. And we all have our different styles, but I like the idea of finding a spot that really pertains to everyone. Like we all have dirty clothes. I like the pantry idea because the pantry right now is a wreck because people just come in there and there's so much more snacking and everything going on. In fact, my son said to me the other day, why did you buy so much at the grocery store? And I said, because we're going to be here indefinitely eating 3 meals a day, and there are 5 of us. And he goes, oh yeah, you're right. But just taking it project by like a small room at a time, and gosh, we have 5 of us. If we all pitched in for an hour, it would be amazing what we could get done. So I love the idea of picking one thing at a time. And a lot of times I think if you make it fun, they'll realize this wasn't such a dread. Yes,
Yeah.
that's absolutely true. And really, one of the things that has helped my clients and helped us going into this whole quarantine situation is that we had an organized pantry. So while everybody else was out like buying massive amounts and trying to figure out what they needed, we really knew exactly how much we had and what we needed and what we needed extras of. And so whether that's during this time or during regular time, it really will help to save you time and frustration and money at the grocery store from not buying things that you don't need.
So in regards to the pantry, because I am unlike you, I did not have my pantry and organized very well, and that's mainly my fault. So if I'm looking at the pantry, like, is there some thought process going into this? Should I be categorizing things by the time they expire? How would you recommend us doing something like
Yeah,
that?
so that's a whole process. But, a lot of times, I mean, when I'm working with clients on organizing pantry, the first thing I tell them is you want to look at the space that you have and really work on maximizing the amount of storage that you have in there. Once you know how much storage you have, then you want to start with placement. And so for me, I really encourage placing items that you want your kids to have the most access to down on the lower shelves. Then as you move up that space, at eye level are going to be breakfast foods and quick fix foods, things that are going to be kind of accessible to the whole family. And then as you move up in height, you want to make those foods like your canned vegetables and pastas and things that the kids don't need as much access to. And that way, everything's kind of set in a space that makes sense. And then you want to start thinking about what containers you need. So whether that's seal tight canisters that are going to be acrylic and let you see how much cereal you have, but keeping it fresh longer. Taking things out of packages is a big thing for me in terms of knowing what I have, who's eating what, how much of it, when's it going. So I don't really have to worry so much about things expiring because we know what we have in our pantry and what we eat. And then also using things on higher shelves like turntables, acrylic turntables, and rolling can racks, things that are going to not have you push items to the back of the shelf. You want to bring everything forward and make it accessible so that you're not losing canned goods at the back of a shelf. I actually moved a client in the I'm trying to remember what year it was. It was the early 2000s, and we found expired food from the 80s in the pantry. No, no lie. So like it just gets up on a high shelf and pushed to the back, and the next thing you know, like you've just moved on. So it really is, using the right products. It's like I don't want to sell my clients products they don't need, but I want to make sure they have the right products in place that are going to help them to stay organized, because you can kind of shuffle things around and make everything look neat, but if you don't have the right system in place, it's not going to be able to be maintained.
I have a specific question that's really awesome about the pantry or the kitchen really is with spices. And I cook a lot, and I have this great new spice cabinet that I didn't have in my other house. I love it. And I too fear looking at how old some of my spice containers might be. And I know you're supposed to throw them out every year or something like that, but I've always wondered, is it better to keep the spices in their original containers, or if you do put them in some prettier containers, maybe they're stay fresh longer, or you can see them, or they're just prettier, but then you lose that expiration date. So how do you organize spices in the spice cabinet?
So, I'm not a cook at all, like not even a grilled cheese. So my husband is a big cook, and I let him take the lead on how to keep our spices organized. And for him, he wanted them, we had a deep drawer next to our stove, and he wanted them all below him and all laid out so he could see the tops of them and he could keep track of them. And I think that you bring up a good point though, in like asking specifically how to set up certain things. It's all about your habits and how you function. So there's not a one size fits all. And I really work with my clients to understand like, who's the cook in your family? Are they right-handed or left-handed? Are they organized out or organized in? What kind of foods do they cook? And all of those questions about how you operate and how you function and how you think of things, those are the key answers to setting up a system. Because I can go in and set up a system in your kitchen, but if it's set up for me, you won't maintain it. So really trying to understand what appeals to you. The other thing I will say that you brought up about putting them in pretty containers, that is a key aspect though in organization, whether it's your closet, your garage, your pantry, no matter what it is, it has to be aesthetic. It has to appeal to you in order for you to want to maintain it. So I really discourage clients from using mix match bins and baskets and, just shoving things on shelves in groups, because that's not going to be appealing and you are not going to want to maintain that.
Interesting.
Makes a lot of sense. I feel that same way. I'm a very aesthetically minded person, obviously,
Right.
with what I do.
Yeah.
And it's so true. When you walk in a room and see a hodgepodge, you just want to walk away. It just makes you have a terrible feeling. But when you
Yeah.
see something that has a purpose and has, even if it gets messy, but it has a system for getting fixed and you can do it quickly, it's actually pretty fun. And then you have that gratification of seeing it messy and then you quickly see it neat again and it makes you feel great and move on, as opposed to just a big mess you just want to just avoid at all costs. And then it just gets worse and worse. That would be my closet at this particular time. So I think I'm going to need you to come over when we can.
When we can get within 6 feet.
Yeah, when you can get within come to my house and check my closet. But
all those little things, like we will even do for clients, and they'll have a tiny, and I have a small closet, but we do things like put in a pretty light fixture, or we wallpaper the ceiling, or we put in painted bins with vinyl labels, like little bitty touches like that, making sure you have all the hangers that are the same, even if they're white plastic. Like, you just want the continuity, because visual clutter is as damaging as physical clutter. So you really just want to streamline everything. And that's why we talk about color coordinating and all of that. It's very restful for the eyes. And if it's appealing to you, like I said, those little details are going to help you to maintain it.
I know. I think it's funny how so many times in our homes, we make our rooms that we're not in very much the prettiest, and we're in our closet multiple times every day. We're in our bathroom drawers multiple times every day. We're in our pantry multiple times every day. So even if it's not something that everyone else sees, what matters to me is what I see. So I think that's really cool that you brought in the aesthetics, because a lot of people think that's the least part of my house I need to worry about, aesthetics. But really, to me, this is like bringing in the Village Dermatology cosmetic thing here. But it's what I tell my patients. It's really not what you want everybody else to see in you. It's what you want to see in you when you look in the mirror, right? And so we want to make sure, to me, it's the same concept, but we want to make sure that those things that our eyes are on every day and doing every day is aesthetically pleasing. And so that's really cool. I've never thought about that it is important in those areas that no one else sees but you, still be pretty and organized and calming. We have so much craziness in the world. To walk in your closet and it's organized, that's literally calming, and instead of stressful. And so I think that's a super cool thing we can add to our lives that makes us just one less thing to be stressed.
Yeah.
Uh-oh. We lost her for a second. I'm sure she'll jump back. There she is.
Sorry about that.
Oh, there you go.
Here I am.
Yeah. And the other thing I would say to that is, you're exactly right, because we always tell, like I tell a lot of my moms who are struggling, especially when they have little kids and they're like, I don't care what my closet looks like, let's organize the playroom and I'm like, no, stop. You need to go back and organize your closet and your bathroom, because if you're not feeling good about yourself and you're not putting your best foot forward, it's going to be very difficult for you to be successful in the other areas of your life. So I feel a lot that goes a lot in what you do and what I do, because those spaces are important. It's important for you to have that feel good about yourself when you're dressed and walk out of the house, because that confidence really spills over to every aspect of your life.
You guys are blowing my mind right now. Like as a male, I don't know how many male viewers we're going to have, but just the idea of taking things out of their box and putting them into a clear container just blew my mind. So
I'm with you, Amanda. I'm with you. I do that. I love that.
Hey, listen, it's all. So do you, obviously the containers have been a big component of what you do here. Do you recommend that for other spaces like my garage? Would you recommend that as well? Because it's a kind of a mess too. Okay.
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. And really, again, it just goes to like what you do in that space, how you function in that space, and how you think about getting things, so that's all, what type of containers you use and what type of systems you put in place just really depends on how you, like, what you want to utilize and where you think about it naturally being.
Cool. That's awesome.
Yeah.
What about, I got another question, unless you want to go, Jenny.
No, go ahead.
Okay. So you mentioned the closet.
Mm-hmm.
Specific, and so me and my wife have a walk-in closet. We share it together. It's one of those areas that no matter how hard we try, it just seems like it never gets there. It never gets to the point where we need it to be. Can you give me or give us some direction on that? And my answer is always just get rid of stuff. Again, send stuff to Goodwill, send stuff to the dump. I don't know if that's the best case scenario, but give me some direction there.
I mean, so let me give you, this is probably not a step-by-step guide, but let me give you my kind of philosophy and spiel on things at the moment. So I really feel like you touched on something. You're like, I just say, get rid of it and get rid of it. And honestly, that's kind of been my preach since 2005. So just like a little history on me is that we wound up in Birmingham because we lived in New Orleans during Katrina, and we lived by the 17th Street Canal Breach. So I had a 2-year-old, an 8-week-old, and 2 dogs. We left with 2 suitcases, and we lost everything. Every home video, every picture, every piece of furniture, everything. And we started our lives over with 2 suitcases. And at the time, obviously, it was very difficult, especially with little ones. But over time, I realized that God had given me a very special opportunity to live through something that would impact not just me, but everybody that I worked with, by really helping people to understand what's important in their lives, and that it's not the material possessions, it's not the stuff in our homes, it's the people in our homes. And I feel like this time is a very unique time where this message is being reiterated, right? A lot of people are spending time right now organizing their homes, spending time with family, things like that. And I'm trying to encourage them, don't just dedicate this time to organizing, right? Like, you need to really, at the end of this, we will all go back to our lives and we will look back on this time and remember what we did with it. So I think it's very important that, yes, you utilize some of that time to get your house in order, to get your life in order, to get things back together so that you are ready to go and hit the ground running successfully when the world opens back up. But you also want to take this time and not be so concentrated on the material possessions in your life, but in the people in your home and making memories and doing things, because that is the only thing we get to keep with us. So I am in agreement with you. I firmly believe the less you have, the less you have to take care of, and the more time you have for what's really important in this life, which is the memories we make with our families and loved ones. And that's, so I say, yes, get rid of it. Get rid of all of it. I mean, I have a small closet, but I really, even in that small closet, which is organized, I'm happy to take you into it. There are, I still wear probably 20% of what's in there. It's just habit. My kids are like, you wear a uniform, you wear a different color t-shirt and jeans every day. It's the mom dress code. Yeah. So, but I don't want on the weekends when I have very little time with my kids, I don't want to be going, well, God, I would hate for somebody to pop by the house because it's a mess. Or I would, no, we can't go out to dinner with friends because, I've got to reorganize the kitchen or the garage or the kids' playroom or whatever it is. How sad for us at the end of the day to realize that's where we've spent the majority of our time and attention. Like, what a waste. So, we need to learn to become not so much of a consumer society and really learn what's important and what isn't. And unfortunately, not to sound like my grandmother, but they just don't make things like they used to. And things, fashion changes so quickly, and items in the house break so quickly, and we are a consumer driven society. But I really hope that people will take away from this what I learned 15 years ago, and that it just doesn't matter. Eat on the good china. Don't worry if it breaks and you can't replace it. They're not burying you with it. So don't worry about all that stuff. Get rid of everything you can get rid of. Get rid of everything that does not bring you extreme joy or a need in your home. Kids don't need 40 different toys to play with. They want your attention. They want to play with you. So really, I hope that, that people will just donate and get rid of and stop over purchasing for what ifs. It's probably way more than you asked.
No, I think that was like knocked it out of the park for me.
Yeah, I love that. Amen, sister.
Amen.
I love that. You're so right. It's just all about people. It is all about people. And I think that was a beautiful message. And you can speak it because you lived it. And that makes it even more important because it came from something that you lived out and that you experienced on your own. I think that is really amazing. And, Jonathan and I had talked about before all this started wanting to do some podcasts, some video podcasts with some people, and kind of our tagline at Village Derm being "Live a Beautiful Life," and to have these messages where people talk about like what they've experienced in life and how it's made their lives more beautiful. And you just literally knocked that out of the park, like Jonathan said. And it's the perfect message we want to give because organizing is important and what to do with this time and making the most of it. But at the end of the day, what's really important and the only thing that's important is having a beautiful life in the way that, and it's all about people and it's all about our relationships with others. And I think that is just spot on. So I love that you said that.
Well,
really did. Yeah.
Really good. What else you got, Jenny? Got any other questions for our expert?
Well, I will say she said she would take us into her closet.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know if that was actually real, but if it was, then we would love to see your closet.
Oh, wow.
I'll take you in.
We're getting
I
behind
will not
the
be
scenes.
taking y'all into my closet today. I can assure you of that.
So,
Now my product drawer, I might let you see it. It's pretty impressive, but not my closet.
Yeah. Okay. So this, I don't know how, I wish, okay. So it's not as big as it looks. There's a mirror next to it. So it looks like it's bigger, but it actually ends. So, and I just have like a small long hang section. I hang my purses. I only have a couple of them, quality over quantity. So, I hang those on little, I put a rod up there in a short section and actually did shower curtain rings to hang those up there so that I could see them and remember to change purses when I needed them. Just a few you can see, like just not a lot. I've got a little drawer tower, and this is my little area for like the jewelry I wear on an everyday basis. Again, just bringing in like the beautiful things and folded jeans, acrylic dividers. I love, like, such a great product for not letting things get cluttered on a shelf. And then more hang, and that's it. And then you can see, like, I do my jewelry. I actually made those just using like cork board. I wrapped them in a fabric that I wanted and then used little T-pins. But instead of having jewelry all piled up, I have another one over here in a drawer. I just chose to kind of display it so that it was a pretty accent in the closet and something that was also functional. And so I actually wear more of my jewelry this way because I see what I have. And otherwise, I guess it would just get lost. So many times things get lost in a drawer and stuff like that. I'll take y'all on a tour of my pantry if you want to.
Yes, we would love that. I did that with my, I did a different way, but I might adopt your way. But I did that with necklaces because I had so many things piled up, and it's just like the things in your pantry. If you don't see it, you don't eat it. Or if you don't see it, you don't wear it or use it or whatever. And so I thought, when I moved this time, I did get rid of so many things, but what I did have left as far as jewelry, it's all right in front of me to see, and I do wear more of it than I did before. My little Sadie has joined us on the call.
Yes.
Well, it's so funny because of what I do, people will come into my house and they're like, so my husband's like, it's a good thing these systems actually work, because you, being a professional organizer, we'll have a dinner party and people are like, okay, let's go see your closet. And I'm like, would you do that at anyone else's house? But they just assume it's always set, but we try. But so this is my pantry, and you can see kind of everything set in the bins, labels. Okay, so this is what I'm talking about high up. So like these, I can grab that can off and it'll roll the next one to me. So that's a great way to use higher shelves. And then this too. So you don't get stuff lost on the back of the shelf if you can kind of turn that around and bring products forward. It also helps to group and categorize those different food items. And then, lower down some of the products, like just quick fix, tuna fish, microwave stuff for the kids. Like we just try to keep it all grouped and categorized for easy use. And it does, well, I love it when I come in here. There's a pantry is definitely my favorite project. I just find it so aesthetic, which is funny because I hate to cook.
I would sit in there and just meditate. That is so beautiful.
Right?
I love it. Oh my
Right?
goodness. I would just hide in there.
Yes.
All this makes me feel happy. Like your closet made me feel good. This makes me feel good. It makes me feel like I feel like a slob on the inside. But it does make me feel good to see.
Too. Like, so we had this really long room, and it's right off the kitchen. And so we did the pantry on the other side. And if you come around, like, this is my laundry.
Mm-hmm.
So, but we even did that over here because I'm like, if it's sharing the space, like we did like liquid detergents in glass canisters with little cups underneath them, like, detergent sitting out in a glass canister, a piece of artwork, like everything that I do, I just want it to make me feel good when I'm in that space. And so, we don't let laundry pile up in here because we have to come in here for food and we have to come in here and do laundry. And I did that specifically because I was like, if I have a laundry room that I can just shut off, I'm just going to pile it in there.
Yeah.
And I hate doing laundry. But like this way, I didn't give myself that option, so it has to stay neat.
That's really cool. Yeah, it makes you kind of want to do the laundry because it's so pretty. And how fun is it to get the detergent out of one of those little spigots?
I know.
I mean, that's just so, Jonathan, I'm sorry. That's such a girl thing. I know you're like, what? But I totally get that. I totally get that.
No,
yeah.
I totally.
And actually my husband is the neater one in my household. So he will love watching this and probably hold me to some things. But that's just so beautiful. And you do have it's not a huge space. It's great to see that you can be super, super organized with not, you don't have to have a ton of space to do that.
No,
I love seeing all these new things on Instagram and Facebook of all these little tiny houses and what people can do with those. And I bet you just love that. Like it's not about this, it's not about the size. It's about making the most of what you have. Again, going back to what I do everybody's, well, I don't have this or I don't have that, or I have this, inherited quality. And I'm like, we got to get away from like what I don't have. And we got to get to what I do have and make the most of that. And we all have, if we have a house, we're blessed, no matter how big it is. So let's make the most of whatever that is.
Yes.
So,
And my mom grew up, without a lot, and she always was very neat and organized and everything was very clean. And she said, my mom always taught us from a young age, we might not have control over how much we have, but we always have control over how we take care of it. And so that's just something that I've always tried to pass on to my kids as well. So I feel like it's just important, and it shows respect for what you do have. And that's what I always try and tell my kids, like, yes, you're blessed and you have things that I didn't have growing up, but if you're not taking care of it and you're not respecting it and you're not treating it right, then you don't deserve it. So
yes, preach it. I love it.
Preach.
Love it. Yes, especially right now when we're all together. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
All right, well, believe it or not, that's been 30 minutes.
Okay.
So
wow,
that's
awesome.
I don't want to take up too much more of your time, but I do want to introduce you as much as we can to the Village Dermatology platform. So how can people find you? How obviously you have a website, Instagram.
We do all of the above. So we are on Instagram at The Amandas Organizing. And our website is theamandas.com. And if people want to reach out, we're actually doing a lot of virtual organizing right now. So if they go onto our Instagram, they can actually DM us, and we have like a little package set up to help them with phone calls and pictures and videos, so that as they're working through things and they reach obstacles, we can actually help them overcome those specifically to their needs, not just kind of an in general organizing. And then they can always call us in Birmingham at 970-1087.
Oh, that's fantastic. I'm probably going to do that with you this afternoon and send you a DM.
Okay. It really has been very helpful for people, because it's like they're, they want to do it and they want to be hands-on, but they're like, I just need somebody to give me like a good game plan to get going, so it's good.
Perfect.
Great.
Well, thank you so
Awesome.
much, Amanda, for
Okay.
doing this today. I think this
Yes,
has been
thank
amazing.
you.
Hopefully everybody will reach out to you. And if you guys like more of this, we can definitely do more. We'll try to bring on some more experts, some other things like diet, nutrition, whatever you guys are interested in. Please let us know, and we'll try to make that happen during this time. But Amanda, thank you so much. And
You're so
we'll talk to
welcome.
you later.
Okay,
Yes,
guys.
thank
right.
you,
See you
Amanda.
later.
Thank
See
you so
ya.
much.
Bye.
See you soon. Bye.